I do believe that in response to Ruba, there has been recent confusion regarding the foreign policy presented by the People's Republic of China. They believe that we are only pro-war, that our only aim is to make chaos where there can be peace. To that I say they are wrong, and to that I say they have been influenced by Japanese media. And the media that have been presented by the Japanese cabinet that have been so destined to work with the United States to try and oust the People's Republic of China internally or externally. Whilst I'm in agreement that they are definitely giving off the perfect vibe to invite the idea of war, that is not our true goal. The People's Republic of China, whilst maintaining a level of aggression towards the Republic of South Korea and Japan, as well as the United States, has done this in the efforts of maintaining a level of activity. The previous China failed to maintain a level of activity that responded in a method of getting a military active. An hour after our introduction to the United Nations, we managed to surpass these expectations with flying colours. Not only did a single word span across the entire continent of Asia, but it also forced South Korea and Japan to act more rationally and began getting their own militaries active. The United Nations cannot just simply rely on internal and external affairs with peace in mind. There has always got to be some sort of borderline and some sort of conclusion to that. To that I say is war. I am pro-war mainly because it brings activity to nations that sometimes did not take the spotlight when they had the opportunity to do so in the past. I am also inclined to agree that whilst China is not the biggest nation in the UN at the moment, our impact and our words speak louder than the numbers of our members. Our position on the Security Council means nothing to us. All that matters to the People's Republic of China, and more or less the central government, is the maintaining of activity in Asia. In response to Aruba, a nation that has gone through a civil war almost, now believes they have the right and privilege to insult the People's Republic of China. I will keep a note that their opinion is one to be worried of, but is also one I can somewhat agree to. Where they have fault, they do have misjudgment, and I cannot sadly agree with the fact they have gone ahead and given us a terrible reputation. As someone who had, in the past, worked with Aruba quite diligently and very valiantly in efforts to maintain peace, I believed myself that this was no longer the option we were wanting. Peace can only get us so far in the UN, and eventually we will die because of it. If we do not make the choice of starting tensions and war, we won't last long, and I do not believe anyone in this community wants to see that happen. So in this interview, I will make the following executive order to announce the, supposed support of any sort of tension in South America, Europe, or Africa. The People's Republic of China will stand with individuals who claim for their righteous territory and for their reputation to be more than a staple joke to the United States. And will also take the opportunity to speak against the United States. For what they have done in the past, they have nothing compared to what we have now. Their foreign affairs has collapsed completely. They no longer have the reputation of an actual free and stable state. Their long-term goal of maintaining a NATO has collapsed completely. They hide the facts by lies, deception, and most of all, I think the answer is obvious to that. All of that aside, I believe that the international community needs to recognize and make actions to maintain activity in the UN completely. We cannot have nations like Peru or nations like Turkey interfering in continental disputes between Asia or Africa, or South America. Tension needs to be there. There can no longer be anyone intervening for the sake of intervening. There needs to be a reason. And I also want to point out that the People's Republic of China will be introducing legislation to the United Nations General Assembly at the next attendance regarding the capping of mutual defense pacts a country can have. This is going to technically be the stop breaker, the thing that keeps tension boiling. Nations in the past have always jumped to the conclusion that if they have a mutual defense pact agreement, they are safe. Once this legislation takes effect, this effectively goes out the window. We need a UN that is strong, a UN that knows and can tolerate the idea of war when it needs to be done. And the UN also needs to recognise and formally change the way they act towards war. At the moment, everyone believes that war is simply a bad thing, and they will do everything in their power to destroy the idea and potential activity of it. This has already been seen by the CETO Secretary General Ashley Windsor, who has now been formally sanctioned by the People's Republic of China for attempting to sue us in the ICJ regarding the phrase, "We are pro-war." This level of lunacy, idiocracy, and complete unfathomable disgrace is not what we want in the UN. We know and we are aware of the term warmongering. The People's Republic of China has not done anything to harbour such a word or phrase to the people. We will not go as far as declare war for no reason. We will, and always will, find justification in our actions. That is all.